We'd like to give our response on this document, the Hillsborough Agreement. Number one, I can't understand why it took as long as it did to produce something that has already been in the public domain. Just basically, the only difference is it's all been pulled together. But just to go through some of the things here, and we'll start off with the independence of the judicial and the chief constable. Well, let's look at how independent the chief constable is from the OFM DFM. The PSNI will have operational and responsibility for policing. Fair enough. And for implementing the policies and objectives set by the Department of Justice and the Policing Board. And who do they have to go to get agreement? They have to go to the executive and in turn to the OFM DFM's department. So in reality, the executive and the OFM DFM will set the protocol, the procedures, and what actually goes on within the Police and Justice Department. Proposed functions of a new Department of Justice, for example, the Good Relations Unit in the OFM DFM has a key role in dealing with community relations. So the IRA now is going to tell us the best way forward in having community relations with people and setting the agenda for the police and justice and how they should operate community relations. Let's move on here. Full provision of adequate funding and other resources for legal services to the disadvantaged in society, ensuring equality of access to justice for all. No problem there in ensuring justice for all and the same rights. But who's the one group of people that need our legal system and especially our legal aid system the most? But the people who break the law. So basically we are putting something into place that will cost us thousands upon thousands, probably millions, to help the people who is out breaking the law. Is any wonder Sinn Féin wanted that in? But if you're some thug lying around the street who's breaking into people's houses, or you're involved in some type of terrorist activity, of course you'll get legal aid to fight all the battles within the court system that needs to be fought. View of alternatives to custody. In other words, let's look how we can not put these people in jail. Let's look at how we can give them other wee jobs to do. Maybe give them a few extra pound on the dole to help them out so they don't need to break into people's houses. So again, are we surprised that coming from Sinn Féin IRA, there are local alternatives, if not how to put people into custody? Keep boys out of jail. It's not surprising. Also, alternatives to prosecution. They don't even want to prosecute them. So if people do things like slight intimidation or breaking people's windows or destroying the cars, they want to look at alternative ways of dealing with it instead of prosecuting them. That's not law and order we're talking about. That's anarchy. A review of the conditions of detention, management and oversight of all prisoners. Why? We're some of the best prisons in Europe, if not in the world. Look at the prisons in America and other places compared to what we have here. It's a joke. How long here? Now, they haven't forgot about the victims. Now, I have to agree now, they have mentioned the victims. And what have they mentioned? Something we mentioned months ago. Something that the rest of the UK has had from 2006. The Code of Practice for Victims of Crime. Lo and behold, we're going to get it. Not that we're entitled to it and should have had it. And not that it's anything to do with terrorists. But crime and how victims are looked after in the rest of the United Kingdom. So all we're getting is something that we were entitled to in the first place. We then produced this document which relates to that document. Now, do you think we're clean stupid? I'll move on because there's a few other points here that are very important. Justice Minister will bring any proposals he or she believes necessary to the Executive, detailing how the Minister's Code or procedural guidance should be amended to ensure effective decision making in relation to urgent, confidential or other matters in his or her department, which would normally require consideration by the Executive. In other words, the Justice Minister can do nothing unless it gets the clearance from Sinn Féin IRA. So the Justice Minister will only be there to deal with the minor issues of your ordinary criminality and things like that. They'll not be there to deal with the main issues of terrorism, other types of activity along the lines of smuggling, major events in relation to terrorism and their profit making. It will be down to the OFM, DFM. The Department of Justice would require executive consideration. It is expected that any new arrangements would be in place by the summer recess. If Sinn Féin, IRA and the DUP agree. So basically, we need the IRA's permission to put in a proper policing and justice system into Northern Ireland, which they will never agree to. It will have to be a policing and justice system that suits the terrorists and the criminal. The key elements of the settlement are the Northern Ireland Executive will have access to the reserve to meet any exceptional security pressures relating to policing and justice. The Northern Ireland Executive, not the Justice Minister. But here's the laughable bit. The Parades Commission is tasked with regulating and adjudicating on parading. We are committed to a new and improved framework fashioned by all stakeholders and maximising cross-community support. Local people providing local solutions. Where did we hear that before? Respect for the rights of those who parade and respect for the right of those who live in areas through which they seek to parade. This includes the rights for everyone to be free from sectarian harassment. Where have we heard that before? There's either a right or a wrong. You can't have a situation where people dictate where people can go and where they can't go. Transparency, openness and fairness. By who? By Sinn Féin IRA, the very people that created the situation. The rights of citizens to freedom from all forms of harassment. So these people in these areas who are stopping these parades are entitled to be free from harassment. Well, what type of pill are they going to give to them that is going to change their minds after 16 years of Sinn Féin IRA creating situations? What type of pill are they going to give to them to turn this all around, where they can turn around and say the orange men are welcome down certain roads which they've been walking for hundreds of years? The pill is we have to swallow, not them. We have to swallow it. And that pill is that the IRA gave us permission to walk down the roads. And I would defy anybody to prove that I'm wrong in what I say.